Silly me. I've got to get my camera on or you won't be able to see me. Let me swap over here. There I am. All right. Well, if you are on YouTube watching this, go to the link in the description that goes to our school account. Get on the school, join in. It's super fun. You can get on here, you can ask questions. It's all live stuff. We will, go through all the things. But today, specifically, we'll get to that. It is Herb Talk number 26, autoimmune series number 16, where we will be talking about Hashimoto's specifically. A really good one to talk about. A lot of people struggle with this, women especially, which we'll get to here in a minute. But it is hot here in Alabama. I'm sweating hardcore, and I got a fan on me right now. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I don't even have my mic on my chest. So there we go. I'm sure you can hear me just fine either way. But I've got my herbal drink for the day. Now, coming up at the end of this month, so next week, we will be doing the drawing for these two right here. Really awesome combination, anti-inflammatory, all around, gives you everything that you need, all the minerals, everything like that. Great immune system dealio. Get the raffle opened up here so that I can add those who are joining. So, yes, exactly. But yeah, this week we're talking about Hashimoto thyroiditis. This one I've worked with people directly on. I'm working with some people right now, some people that have been in here on the Herb Talks, and then you have on the flip side of Hashimoto's Graves' disease, right? And we're seeing some amazingly awesome results with that, even with a child. So nothing but great news. Nothing but great news. So we can jump right in here. I believe it. Well, it's not quite time yet. So let me, it's not quite time yet. So if you're on YouTube, jump on the school, sign up, get involved in the Herb Talk. This is where all the action happens. A lot of the courses are still being developed out. So if you want to get in there on the courses, you'll hear a lot of stuff that we talk about specifically on the courses in here. But the courses are well laid out, well organized, easy to follow, instructions, all that good stuff. So say for gut health, right? Has everything about gut health, your gut health protocol and all that stuff. And then we have the product, gut health protocol, to go along with that, right? So on our website, greathealthbygod.com. We have some other products that we talk about specifically on here, a lot of autoimmune stuff, right? Because that's what we're going over right now. Here in the coming months, when we get into cancer, we will have some products for specifically for that. Go up on the site and everything, and I've got some products on there that don't correlate to autoimmune disease, but they are specific ones for specific people I've been helping. So, but let's dive into Hashimoto's. Hashimoto thyroiditis is the most common autoimmune condition, period. But especially in women, right? It is characterized by the immune system producing antibodies that target thyroid tissue, primarily TPO, or thyroid peroxidase, right? Let me get Lane in here. So, up in Serva. So specifically thyroid peroxidase, right? So, and thyroid globulin, right? So over time, this immune attack leads to inflammation, gradual destruction of thyroid cells, and reduced ability to produce thyroid hormones, right? So Hashimoto's is hypothyroidism. Graves' disease is hyperthyroidism, and I'll bounce back and forth between those because they are so similar, just different spectrums, right? They're so similar as far as what you do for the condition, just on the opposite ends of the spectrums. There's just a few different things that you would do specifically for Hashimoto's versus Graves', right? And so, and I'll share with you the successes that we've had with this. And so the thyroid plays a central role in regulating so many things: metabolism, energy production, temperature, like body temperature, right? And that's actually one of your key indicators to know how your thyroid is functioning. Okay. And we'll get to that here in a second. But overall cellular activity, right? As the thyroid function declines, symptoms such as fatigue, weight gain, cold sensitivity, hair thinning, brain fog, slowed metabolism, it begins to develop, right? So the immune component is driven by a breakdown in tolerance, where the body no longer recognizes the thyroid tissue as self. And it's the process is influenced, because of genetic susceptibility, which we talked about, that genetic factor, but it doesn't happen without the environmental triggers, right? And so, but one of the things we have to understand is that it's mostly and I think we're actually going to get to this later on, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's mostly mimicry, right? So it's molecule mimicry. And this can happen a number of different ways. But one of the most significant triggers is gluten in hypothyroidism, right? Is in susceptible individuals, the proteins in gluten can resemble thyroid tissue through molecular mimicry, right? But that can happen through parasites. That can happen through toxins such as glyphosate, right? Getting stuck in the thyroid. So it's not just gluten that's the issue. But gluten can be a very major contributing factor, right? It can be one of the biggest triggers of this, right? This can lead to cross reactivity, where the immune system, once activated against gluten, also targets the thyroid because the way that the molecules bind, the way that thyroid hormones bind to it, or the immune system binds to it, it also will start to bind to the thyroid peroxidase, TPO. And so iodine balance is really important for hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. Iodine is necessary for thyroid hormone production. Excessive intake can increase oxidative stress, though, within the thyroid and can trigger or worsen autoimmunity. So, especially with Hashimoto, so it's something that you can't just do too much of, especially when you have these conditions. But getting a clean source of iodine is also important, right? So it's less a problem with Hashimoto's than it is with Graves', right? And I think we'll get to that here in a minute. But Chronic infections, particularly Epstein-Barr virus, and also associated with or are also associated with Hashimoto's, right? So you have these parasitic compounds, these different things that are molecular mimicry, where your immune system will start to attack it, but also start to bind to specific things, thyroid tissues or hormones. Same thing with Graves, right? Usually caused by a leaky gut syndrome of some sort, right? Normally caused by a gut issue. Like I said before, a or an autoimmune prone person doesn't have autoimmune disease if they have a good gut, right? Just end of story. If you have a good gut, that's the best preventative to getting autoimmune disease if you are genetically prone to it. But if you have it, there's ways of reversing it. There's ways of getting back into remission. And we have some live examples happening as we speak, including our daughter, who's now void of her medications. She's not taking any medications, all herbs, doing extremely well. All her blood work is coming back fantastic. Everything's coming back fantastic. Nodules in her thyroid reducing and disappearing. So all great and wonderful, awesome news. So that's all been diet and diet and herbs, basically, right? Diet and herbs, and so in monitoring. So pretty simple, and lifestyle changes, right? So but diet, herbs, lifestyle, everything goes right. It's amazing. So selenium deficiency is a key nutritional factor as well, right? So selenium is required for enzymes that protect the thyroid from oxidative damage and for the conversion of T4 into active hormone T3. So just so you know, your thyroid only produces a small amount of T3, right? What it mostly produces is T4. Basically, every other tissue in the body also converts T4 into T3, right? So this is really a whole body issue. It's not always just the thyroid. So it's really important to understand how those hormones work too, because you could have a thyroid issue, but your T levels look fine because your other organs are functioning properly. And so there's all sorts of nuances that you have to take into account, right? But one of the best indicators on how to judge whether your thyroid is working properly or not is by taking something called your basal temperature. Okay, your basal temperature is your temperature when you first arise in the morning, before you walk, before you get up, before you do anything. Take your body temperature. I don't remember the exact averages, right? But if it's somewhere between, like, if it's under 97.6, I believe, on average, if it's under 97.6 when you wake up in the morning, your temperature, then you have an underactive thyroid, right? That's a direct indicator because your body or your thyroid directly regulates the temperature of your body. And so now if you're over, I think it's like 99.2 or 99.3 on average, when you wake up in the morning, you have a hyperactive thyroid. One of the best and one of the greatest ways that we've known where our daughter's thyroid's been sitting is by taking her temperature in the morning. And now she's sitting just below 98 degrees, whereas before she was above 99, right? And so every single morning you take that over 5 days and you get an average, and you do that every couple of weeks or so just to see where you're at. That is, and you can do it every single day so that you have a running idea as to what direction your thyroid's going. Pretty sweet. Really good intuitive or insight to be looking for thyroid levels. So, but now she's on the lower end of normal, so we're about to reduce some of her herbal medications that directly influence her thyroid. So that's great because our immune system's working out great now. And so as everything's supported and starts to function properly, we can start reducing some of the more active compound herbs. So, but the primary goal in addressing Hashimoto's is to reduce the immune attack on the thyroid, support the thyroid hormone production and conversion, and remove or reduce the triggers, right, that are driving the autoimmune response. So reducing antibody levels involves calming immune activity and lowering inflammation. This includes supporting regulatory pathways, getting that gut right, improving your gut health, reducing exposure to dietary and environmental triggers. So all the things that we've been talking about, right? Just bringing it all together specifically for Hashimoto's. Supporting thyroid function includes ensuring adequate intake of key nutrients such as selenium, zinc, iron, iodine in appropriate amounts. It also involves supporting the conversion of thyroid hormones and maintaining proper signaling at a cellular level. One of these things is that to support your T3 conversion or T4 conversion into T3 is methylated vitamins, right? Methylfolate is one of those that 60% of people out there cannot properly take folic acid and turn it into, or folate and turn it into methylfolate, right? And so there's an issue with the methylation happening in our bodies. So getting a methylated form of folate, methylated form of folate, it will greatly increase your ability to convert T4 into T3, right? And that happens all over the body, right? Not just in your thyroid. So addressing root causes is essential for long-term improvement. This includes removing gluten where appropriate, managing iodine intake, identifying and addressing chronic infections, correcting nutrient deficiencies. You want to make sure you're getting everything that you need. Adding in key herbs that calm your immune system is going to be one of the biggest factors. That's why we have an autoimmune tea for every autoimmune disease that we sell. And then we have specific capsules for specific conditions that add the nutrients and the different things that you need, right? So, ashwagandha, really, really awesome specifically for Hashimoto's. It's not great for Graves' disease, right? But it is great for Hashimoto's. It's an adaptogenic herb, and most people know about ashwagandha. They've heard about it somewhere, some way, shape, or form. But it's an adaptogenic herb that supports both the thyroid and stress hormones, right? It helps to regulate the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis. We've talked about that before, which is closely connected to the thyroid, right? Very, very closely connected to the thyroid. Basically your thyroid is giving commands through that process, the HPA axis, right? But ashwagandha can reduce cortisol levels by 27%, which is fantastic, right? It's something that if people are stressed, right, it is something that basically puts up a shield in front of you, and all the bull crap that comes your way, you're just like, whatever, it doesn't even matter. Just keep on going, right? Ashwagandha is one of those that if you take consistently, it reduces stress amazingly. It's really, really awesome for that. I don't know why I don't take it more often, but I probably should. But ashwagandha, fantastic. I like to combine ashwagandha with like L-theanine, right? Most people are functioning at their brain level of about 65%, right? But if you take L-theanine and if you're already drinking caffeine and ashwagandha, you're going to be functioning way closer to 100%. Your brain is going to be on fire most of the time, right? You are going to be firing neurons like crazy and in the best way possible, right? It actually changes the wave state of your brain. And so L-theanine, ashwagandha, super awesome combo. L-theanine was not in my notes, but I have to add that in there because it's fantastic. But one of the key roles in Hashimoto's is supporting the conversion of T4 and the inactive thyroid hormone into T3, right? And so that which is the active form used by the body, right? So and so it has also been shown to help reduce elevated TSH levels in some individuals, right? So by lowering stress, it does that. We're still talking about ashwagandha. I know I got off on L-theanine as well, but still talking about ashwagandha. It helps lower TSH levels, which is really good. Which is actually really good for Graves, except for it has like an immune stimulating factor with the thyroid as well, and so it can cause some issues with Graves' disease, right? So because Graves is like super like everything's out of whack, so you have to be very, very careful with Graves and being overstimulated, right? I know it's kind of weird because it doesn't exactly seem like it makes sense with ashwagandha because it's supposed to lower stress and anxiety and stuff like that, but it does kind of increase thyroid activity, which is what you want with Hashimoto's, not what you want with Graves, right? So bladderwrack is also one. It's a seaweed that contains natural iodine. But once again, iodine's a double-edged sword. You have to make sure you have adequate amounts, but not too much, right? So additional intake can increase oxidative stress in the thyroid and worsen autoimmune activity. So it's something you need to monitor for sure. So this is one specifically for Graves that I love. This one is called buggleweed, right? Buggleweed has a unique role in modulating thyroid activity, and actually it reduces thyroid activity, right? So commonly associated with hyperthyroid conditions, right? So not really to be used with Hashimoto's, but definitely with Graves. So buggleweed actually replaces any medication that they're going to give you for Graves, right? That's how you get off the medication and move over to herbs, is by going to something like buggleweed for Graves, right? Very, very key into the transition of a more natural lifestyle, right? And so that's what we did with our daughter. And so she's completely medication free, but her levels are better than they've ever been, right? And the side effects are gone, right? So, which is fantastic. So, super, super awesome when your thyroid's overstimulated. Great to suppress the thyroid and modulate it, basically. So it helps reduce thyroid overactivity, may lower antibody activity by calming immune signaling directed at the thyroid. So there's two different herbs that would go two different directions, right? So ashwagandha, great for Hashimoto's, not great for Graves. Buggleweed, great for Graves, not good for Hashimoto's, right? So everything else, like lemon balm, which we're talking about, selenium, schizandra all those sort of things, and all the autoimmune herbs, really, really great for both conditions. But there are some nuances that you don't want to cross, right? Because it'll have the opposite effect of what you want. So lemon balm, really, 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 really great. Has great calming effects on the nervous system and the thyroid. It has been shown to interact with TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and receptor activity, potentially blocking stimulation caused by autoimmune bodies. So pretty good there. By reducing stimulation, lemon balm may help lower thyroid-related immune activation and reduce symptoms associated with overstimulation of the gland. It also supports relaxation, reduces stress, which indirectly benefits immune regulation, right? Selenium is essential, particularly in the form of selenomethionine, right? So methylated vitamins, key, is one of the most important nutrients in Hashimoto's. It is essential for enzymes that protect the thyroid from oxidative damage and for the conversion of T4 to T3. Methylated vitamins are super important. Selenium supplementation has been shown in multiple studies to reduce TPO, thyroid peroxidase, antibody levels, and sometimes significantly, right? A common dose is around 200 micrograms. You can get enough selenium in 2 Brazil nuts a day for everything in your body, right? They're packed with selenium, really good stuff. Schisandra berry, I love Schisandra berry. It is one of the greatest adaptogenic herbs out there. But Schisandra berry provides support through its effects on the liver and the adrenal system. The liver is responsible for a significant portion of T4 to T3 conversion, right? When the liver function is impaired, this process becomes less efficient, right? So that's one organ other than the thyroid that produces T3 from T4. That's extremely important to know. Most people think that it's all the thyroid. No, not the case. So together, these herbs and nutrients address multiple aspects of Hashimoto's, ashwagandha and Schisandra for hormone conversion and stress regulation. Selenium directly reduces antibody levels and protects the thyroid. Lemon balm and bugleweed, bugleweed specifically for Graves, but lemon balm for Hashimoto's. Immune-driven, helps to modulate immune-driven thyroid activity. Bladderwrack provides the iodine support when appropriate. This multi-layered approach helps reduce immune attack, improve thyroid function, and address underlying imbalances. A lot of people jump straight to iodine when they say, I've got a thyroid issue, right? I used to, right? I used to say, oh, you need iodine, right? That's not always the case. Graves' disease, you don't do iodine at all, right? Because then it overstimulates thyroid production, and so, or T4 production, and so it sometimes these things are best balanced rather than sought out to just take excessive amounts of, right? So high dose iodine can worsen not just Graves, but Hashimoto's by increasing oxidative stress inside the thyroid gland. Soy can interfere with thyroid function in multiple ways as well. It contains compounds that may inhibit thyroid peroxidase, the enzyme required for hormone production. So, soy can reduce the absorption of thyroid medication as well if you're taking thyroid medication, and may contribute to hormone imbalances in some individuals, right? So, and many people with Hashimoto's, frequent or high intake of soy products can add stress to an already compromised thyroid system. Soy is bad anyways. I wouldn't take it just because it's all GMO. Raw cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage contain compounds known as goitrogens. These compounds can interfere with iodine uptake and in the thyroid, right? And when consumed in large amounts, right? So here's the thing: it's cruciferous vegetables, the brassica family, right? All contain goitrogens. Well, the brassica family, like you just heard, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, like all those are all the same plant, right? They're just different expressions of the same plant. They all come from the same plant. They all have the same genetics. They're just expressed differently. So all those have goitrogens. Now, here's the thing: not good for Hashimoto's. Broccoli, great for Graves, right? Great for Graves. When your thyroid is overactive, it's okay to calm down that thyroid and interfere with the iodine uptake and all that stuff, right? Because it calms it all down. So cruciferous vegetables okay for Graves, not okay for Hashimoto's. In fact, it's recommended. I would recommend cruciferous vegetables when you have Graves. When you start to reintroduce different things back into your diet after going strict reductionist diet, right? So this does not mean these vegetables must be avoided entirely. The goitrogen compounds are significantly reduced when you cook them, but they're still there. It makes them safer to eat. But a lot of people eat those raw, right? So, but they're and they have a lot of different beneficial things in them. But if you have Hashimoto's, I would just avoid them completely. But if you have Graves, like I said, different story. The overall principle is moderation and proper preparation, right? So avoiding excess iodine, limiting soy intake, consuming, watching what you consume and how it affects your thyroid. But getting nutrient dense, clean calories is extremely important in this process, right? So yeah, we went through that one fast, actually. I have some more info that I was going to dive into a little bit with methylated vitamins on here because I think they're really important. Anybody who has a thyroid issue, automatically methylated vitamins. I used to think iodine. Now I think methylated vitamins for sure. Somebody got a question?
I do.
Yeah.
What was that? The word you put before temperature when you were talking about checking your temperature?
Basal temperature.
Basal?
Yeah, BASAL, I believe. BASAL. It's the temperature that you take when your body is at its natural state, right? At its entropy state, basically. So when all the metabolism has calmed down, when everything's calmed down early in the morning, just before you rise, that is where your natural temperature state is at, your regulated temperature. Because once you get up, start moving around, your body temperature rises, right? So, and it fluctuates throughout the day. So you want your most natural body temperature state, and that will give you a direct idea as to what or how your thyroid is functioning.
Also, can you make a post in the school app with the names of those herbs that you listed today, like how to spell them?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I mean, methylated vitamins is really where it's at for the vitamins. If you get like an all-around methylated vitamin, it should have everything that you need. That's what I sell on greathealthbygod.com because it's so important for these type of thyroid issues. It's really important for 60% of the population, honestly. Like there's a lot of issues that we have with methylating or methylation in the body. And there's a lot of things that require methylation. So yeah, so some of the other places that T4 is converted to T3. I mentioned the liver, which is a major site. Kidneys are also a major site in which T4 is converted to T3. There's skeletal muscle. It converts a different one, but it is T4 still. Your brain converts T4 into T3 locally. right? Because T3 does not cross the blood-brain barrier efficiently, right? So, so that it allows the brain to regulate its own thyroid hormone supply. Pituitary gland, which it's a part of the HPA axis, so that makes sense. Brown adipose tissue is also one. Brown fat. So let's see. It's actually through the process of thermogenesis. Like some people probably have heard of thermogenesis, but cold exposure increases D2 activity, producing more local T3 to stimulate heat production, which is thermogenesis, that transfer of heat. Heart muscle, bone, and skin, right? So those are like basically all over the body, right? Only 20% of T3 is secreted directly by the thyroid gland. 80% of it is produced peripherally in conversion of T4 in tissues, right? So if your thyroid levels aren't looking good, but your thyroid seems like it's functioning properly, like your temperatures are good and everything else, and maybe your hormones are off, there could be something else going on with your other tissues, right? Or you could be deficient in the minerals that you need to properly convert T4 into T3. Okay, so very, very important. Let's see. So most Hashimoto's patients are low in B12, methylated form of B12, so methylcobalamin. And folate, right? So we've talked about folic acid. It's a synthetic mineral or synthetic compound that they use. I have everybody in here. And it will build up in the body if you cannot methylate properly, and it will become very toxic to you. So it is extremely important to get the methylfolate. I think it's tetrahydromethylfolate, something like that. I forget what it's called, but let's see. Other methylated vitamins. Selenium, the methylated form of selenium. But yeah, so all of those things, I can get a list put together and put it up. But methylated vitamins, and then you want the supporting vitamins or minerals with it, which are selenium, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, iron. Those sort of things are extremely important to have. If you get stuff like what we're giving away next week, right? With like moringa, which has like everything you need, nettle leaf, right? All that stuff. I think nettle leaf is in this one. Yeah, and it's got nettle leaf in it as well. So, or it's got nettle root. Okay, but you got moringa in this one and nettle in that one as well. You got a ton of minerals in it. So getting the things that you need from natural sources is extremely important. Those are all supporting factors to you. If you're deficient in any of one of these things, you basically break the chain, right? You have to have adequate of enough of the right forms of things in order to produce the right hormones, in order to produce the right compounds for energy. I mean, everything, right? So in order for everything to function correctly. So if you're missing any one of those things, there's a break in the chain, and something has to circumvent that process, right? So your body will circumvent it somehow, but there could be side effects to that. That's where you can have disease, right? Disease comes from your body's natural processes having to circumvent because you don't have what you need to do the right process, basically. When you got everything you need and you're clean, then you don't have the issues, right? So, any other questions? Yes, no, maybe so. It's hot out there, y'all.
It's raining.
What's that?
It's about to rain.
Oh, nice.
I had a question, but I can't remember.
Oh, I've got a question. Why is there two of you on here?
I think she's trying to get into the drawing twice.
Yeah.
To split personality.
I don't know why it does that.
Yeah. That's funny. Every time. Any more questions?
Oh yeah, this is my question.
Yes.
For someone who runs low grade fever a couple of weeks out of the month, just randomly, does that have anything to do with your thyroid?
Either that or infection, chronic infections. I would look at both, but take your basal temperature and see what it normally is. Kind of monitor it, and then if you have, but the random temperature spikes doesn't say, that doesn't lend to thyroid. Thyroid's more of a consistent issue. It's not random spikes. So random spikes is sounds like a chronic, chronic infection type deal.
Well, since I've been taking the stuff that I bought from you,
Yeah,
it hasn't been happening.
that makes sense if it hasn't, because that stuff's specifically for chronic infections in the body, right? So
Which is good.
yeah, some people do have more tendency to get infections, and it could be like a physical early on traumatic injury, or something that lends to that could give access to pathogens and different things to form sorry, my foot just really shot pain. My foot's broken, for those of you who don't know. But yeah, so I don't even know what I was saying. That hurt really bad. I don't know what I was saying, but yeah. So there are people that, just depending on what's happened in their life and stuff, they do have more tendency to get, or prone to chronic infection and stuff. And part of that could be, over antibiotic use, that can lend to chronic infections, because your immune system's not going to function properly. But that could be because of what you've had to, take or do just because of surgeries or injury or anything like that. So
Well, with the dysautonomia, that's when it really started. And then with the 2 surgeries that I've had recently.
I'm not sure what you just said. It was all muffled.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I said, with the dysautonomia,
Oh, just I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
that's when it really started. And then the recent 2 surgeries.
Yeah. Yeah. You start opening up tissues and stuff, and you're already immune compromised and stuff. You'll have some chronic areas of inflammation and infection that could pop up. Sarah, you missed it. We talked about you the whole time.
What'd y'all talk about? I was playing.
We talked about Hashimoto's.
Oh. Well, it's funny. Since I lost all my weight, they said that my Hashimoto's hadn't come back yet.
Yeah.
So it's
Don't
dormant, I guess.
don't say yet. It's gone.
Oh, well, good. It's gone.
Yeah. Just stay. Stay good with your lifestyle changes, and you won't have any issues.
Yep.
Get your keep your gut good, and keep your immune system modulated properly, and you'll be fine.
100%.
Are there any more questions?
Hey, Matt. I've
Yeah.
heard that iodine doesn't work in some instances because toxins and chemicals have built up inside your thyroid,
Mhm.
and the thyroid can't absorb the iodine.
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
Yeah, I've seen a few instances um, where when you actually just detox properly, um, these issues tend to go away. And that's not for every case, but it is for some of them, where your body's actually just trying to get something out of those tissues. And it looks as if it's fighting your tissues, but it's not actually producing antibodies. And so, but yeah, definitely, I've seen stuff like that for sure. For sure. Any other questions or comments? Well, we ain't got nothing else. I guess we'll call it a night.
Okie dokie.
All right, y'all. We're going to pray us out. Everybody bow your hearts. Lord, thank you so much for us being able to come together and just talk about your creation, Lord, and all the things that you provided for us, Lord. Just allow your wisdom to fall upon us so that we can know and trust in the things that you've provided, Lord. We're just thankful for the healing that's taken place in our bodies and the people around us, Lord. We just hope that you reach out and stretch your hand out and touch every individual and let them know that you are there, that your presence is surrounding them, Lord, and that only by you we are able to have the healing that takes place in our bodies, Lord. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, y'all.
Amen.
I will see y'all next time.